Will the Golden Knights maintain their composure again in Monday's second game of the Stanley Cup final? And can Adin Hill continue to shut down opponents in net? The Golden Knights looking to extend their lead in the Cup final to 2-0 after their opening night Game 1 victory.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hi again, everyone. Tony Cardasco along with Chris Golick. We come to you from Las Vegas. We thank you so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Our podcast is free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure that you check us out on Twitter at LockedOnVGK. He is at TD Chris G. I am at Tony Dasco. On YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Locked On Golden Knights.
Mouthful.
So VGK, a 1-0 series lead in the best of 7 Cup final. The magic number for VGK, 3 victories away from the title. If Game 1, Chris, is any indicator, this seems like this could be a very entertaining series. We saw physicality. We saw plenty of drama. We saw some controversy. In all, it turned out to be a lot of fun to watch. And for you there in the stands, I'm sure to experience the Golden Knights with the 5-2 win. And again, it was balanced scoring for the Vegas Golden Knights and unlikely heroes stepping up in that game, namely Shea Theodore, his first playoff goal, and Zach Whitecloud, again, another blue liner. And so now 5 goals for defensemen for the Vegas Golden Knights. But as Bruce Cassidy said earlier on Sunday, he just was stating that the team did not play well overall. And once again, it was the heroics of Adin Hill that bailed out the Vegas Golden Knights, plain and simple. He is now 8-3 in the playoffs, a 2.06 goals against average, so it dropped again, and an unheard of, ungodly .938 save percentage. That's just unbelievable. VGK won't be losing many games if he continues to play like that in net. And today, usually we've been burying Adin Hill, but he is part of the lead today. So maybe we get into that. And then again, a team effort for the Golden Knights in Game 1.
I mean, we go back to the preseason, right? We both compared Adin Hill to
Michael Hutchinson.
No, that was an improvement. No, Robin Lehner. We felt Adin Hill was, at the time, unfairly, but at the time, a slower, maybe, injured version of Robin Lehner. And we reserved the right to walk it back a little bit because it was the preseason, and he did improve. We did state that as well. But, you think about late September to the first time we saw Adin Hill, to the fact that he is leading this team, to the Stanley Cup final, and he had an absolute remarkable game. Obviously, we're going to start with that incredible stick save, all the breakaways he made. He was not afraid to muck it up a little bit in the first period, and he really kind of got things going. He's out there throwing haymakers, as I said on Twitter. And, you mentioned drama. Yeah, I mean, the Florida Panthers, the second the clock starts ticking in that game to the moment the final buzzer rings, and not even until the Panthers are completely off the ice, Vegas better be ready. They better have their head on a swivel. And you saw, who was the player's name? Let me look up and down. Lomberg, 94 Lomberg. He's Lomberg. I don't know. Lomberg. I'm thinking about Office Space now. Boring. Anyway, he just is out there looking to start trouble. A lot of gamesmanship too. Florida's having a hard time getting a line change. They iced the puck a couple times. So he takes off his helmet, acts like it's got a problem, takes his time coming back out there. There was one time where Adin Hill froze the puck. Dude skated all in from the blue line, like 4 seconds after the whistle just to stop. And, the chippiness behind the play. Kachuk obviously was chopping at Mark Stone. We'll talk more about how those two are going to be connected at some point, I'm sure, in this episode in a couple weeks after the season is over. And, it's Vegas better be ready to be engaged. They better be alert. They better keep their heads up, but poise. Poise is the name of the game, as the Florida Panthers were assessed a grand total of 46 penalty minutes.
48, I thought it was. Okay.
NHL saying 46 and to 18 for the Golden Knights. Yep.
Okay, so they switched
two power play goals. Yeah, they took one back upon farther review.
Okay.
2 power play goals for the Golden Knights, 5 different scores, and now I believe it's 19 different scores, if I'm not mistaken, in the postseason for the VGK. Their depth is on display. Their special teams is clicking, and one more game tonight to see how it goes.
Okay, so 2 power play goals or just the one?
According to 2 power play goals. According to
what's the second power play goal?
I don't know.
I'm curious. Okay, so a lot of hitting, and Matthew Tkachuk started things off. He went after William Carrier right on the opening face-off.
That was pretty good.
Again, I mean, this was again a game for VGK where it really did get rather dirty. We saw Anthony Duclair holding up Nick Hague while Tkachuk hits him with a sucker punch or two. And a lot of things going on, a lot of extracurriculars. Before we came on, I was just listening to Alex Petrangelo, and he was like, well, I don't know why they're doing all this. Well, I'll tell you what. Remember, like last week, we were talking on Friday's episode, I mentioned to you about Tkachuk running into Marc-Andre Fleury, and I thought it might just be only him. Instead, he might have just passed along some tips there to his teammates, and they all just, after, like you said, Lomberg comes in from the blue line to join in the scrum. I do have to mention something, and again, we need to be fair and a little bit down the middle on this podcast. I thought Aiden Hill in that one scrum, he should have gotten a game misconduct for what? For hitting with his blocker. And then he also chopped down with his stick on Cousins. And I don't know, like, I thought the referees overall lost total control in this game. I blame a lot of that. I thought they lost a lot of control. And okay, well, a lot of stuff was going on away from the play. I thought Chandler Stevenson with the cross-check, a vicious cross-check on Cousins, that went unnoticed. There was a lot of...
Good. Hit him.
Okay, there were a lot of plays that... And yeah, I did not agree with the way that the game was officiated. And I think a lot of this could be avoided in game number 2 if they have a little bit of a tighter leash on these players.
So right away, starting with the Aiden Hill scrum and all that, and it's not fair to call it the Aiden Hill scrum, but it was a big scrum. They only took, I think, Bennett in that, if I'm not mistaken. Is your Bennett or Cousins? Someone went to the box for Florida. It was just one player. A way for the refs there's a couple ways the refs can control a game. First of all, they cannot call anything. They cannot call anything and let the players fend for themselves. And eventually you get tired of getting hit behind the play, so you just stop doing it. The other way you can do it is you call a million penalties, which will just enrage these athletes a lot more, to the point where the game gets even more out of control, especially if they know if they hit someone, they're going to be taking someone with them to the box, so it's not that big of a deal. Tick for tack and you move on. The most efficient way to control a game when it's getting a bit goofy like that is you take one player. Doesn't matter who, doesn't matter which side. You take one player with you to the box.
That's what I thought.
The refs call one player. The refs call one player. And then at some point, the players realize they're putting themselves shorthanded and they're putting themselves at risk. At the end of the day, the Vegas Golden Knights finished with 7 power plays to the 3 power plays of the Florida Panthers. So the message, Vegas obviously got the message and kept their poise, whereas the Florida Panthers did not. I thought as far as the penalties that got called in the course of play, I mean, they could have called a couple more. I felt there's a couple times where some VGK players were taken down. I felt VGK took some players down on the Florida side of the ice attacking too. But, really, unless it was going to kill a scoring chance or outright dangerous as far as during the course of play, not after the whistles, I thought the refs did an okay job. I mean, it wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was fine. I don't feel like the refs determined the outcome of the game, maybe is a better way to put it. Now, as far as that last scrum involving Nick Hague, when it looked like a WWE tag team match, when you go to the other team's turnbuckle and the one guy's got the dude in a headlock, he tags his partner and they start beating the crap out of him. That's what Nick Hague got involved in, unfortunately. And the most interesting thing about that scrum is Nick Hague went right in from the blue line to engage with Tkachuk. Tkachuk kept his back to him. He knew Hague was on his tail the whole time. Tkachuk kept going after other players in that scrum.
Wait.
Eventually,
So
hold on.
You're saying that he's inciting, he's the instigator? Is that what you're saying?
No, it already had started. Nick Hague was just going in to throw his body around. Nick Hague, the scrum already had started. So Nick Hague definitely came in to join the party. At that point, Eichel was involved, and I think Chandler, whoever the forward was behind the net, was involved. It already had started.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to give Jackie Aces a lot of credit for stepping in there. And Aces, man, he was like as red as the Ace of Hearts for taking. I mean, he was taking a beating.
He had some good hits in that game.
Some punishment.
He had some good hits in the game.
He had some really good hits, and in exchange, they were just pounding on him. He was exhausted after one of his shifts because he skates into one player. They check him into the boards.
Yep.
He gets away. Another guy hits him, and another guy. So maybe that's the target for the Florida Panthers.
Eichel left it on the ice last night. Did a remarkable job. So
great game.
Nick Hague is chasing Tkachuk around. Tkachuk kept grabbing different players once he saw Nick Hague was on his tail. You're not going to see this unless there is an ISO cam on Nick Hague or Brady or Matt Tkachuk and all of that. But I caught it clearly from where I was. And then finally, Nick Hague is tied up by, was it one of the Stahl brothers, I think, and all of that, if I'm not mistaken. No. And that's when Tkachuk throws the punch. So,
Anthony Duclair.
Okay, whoever had him tied up.
Yeah,
that's when the punch came from Tkachuk. So Tkachuk was picking his spot there. He knew he wanted no part of Nick Hague until he felt he had the advantage. And then Nick Hague went in afterwards. And if you go back to the January 12th game, there was a great scrum in that game with the Florida Panthers where Pietrangelo, he just ragdolled, I think it was Bennett when he was trying to get in the scrum, tossed him down. Tkachuk gets in there. So, I mean, there's some bad blood even going back to the limited meetings these two teams had back in January.
Well, the Florida Panthers have never won in Las Vegas.
Let's keep it that way.
To beat Bobrovsky, you need to take away his eyes, said Bruce Cassidy on Sunday. And Theodore, on his goal, he shifted around. Now, Duclair did not get faked out of his skates. He got hit. He got hit like in his shin, and he had off-season leg surgery. And he got hit, and he was stung. And so he just couldn't keep
Mark's doing back surgery. I don't care about his surgery.
Okay,
keep going.
He did get hit with a puck. He got hit with a blast.
Oh, hockey player got hit with a hockey puck.
But it wasn't like Theodore was like doing anything exceptional. He just moved around like he typically does.
Come on, Tony.
Faked him out a little bit. He faked him out.
It was a nice goal. It was a nice goal.
Yeah, he finally scored a goal.
Now that part I agree with you on. It was a nice goal.
And then, but one of the keys there, the Brett Howden line, and the key man, key cog, Brett Howden, he set a nice screen in front of the net.
Yeah.
So that's how he scored the goal.
It's a good hockey goal. Give the entire line credit. I know it's hard for you sometimes, Tony, but give him credit.
Mark Stowaway.
Here we go.
We've got to get to the big play, a play that should have been disallowed. I thought Don Donuts Koharski on TV gave the absolute worst example, and the way that he dissected the rule was awful. It was just bad.
I'll dissect it when you're ready for me.
I'll give it to you. Oh no, of course, because you again posted the rule. What, 18 hours later? I mean, come on, man. So Koharski, they had to stop him from his donut break. That's what Schoenfeld.
That was epic, by the way. That was a great reference point for all the kiddos out there.
But it was pretty funny.
No one under 40 gets that, Tony, but I loved it. But
Jim Schoenfeld called him a fatso and told him to go back to eating his donuts back in the late 80s when Schoenfeld was the head coach of the New Jersey Devils. So in any event, okay, your interpretation of the rule and whether or not it was legal or not, it was borderline. Do you agree?
I will give you borderline.
Borderline?
At the naked eye, I immediately turned around to Kevin and Christy behind me and said, this is going to get reviewed immediately when I saw it. So let's talk about the high stick rule. And here's verbatim from the NHL rulebook, 72.3. High stick, when a player contacts the puck with his stick, here's the key, above the normal height of the shoulders. That's it right there. Stop right there. The normal height of the shoulders. So let's talk about Mark Stone and how he played that puck. Matt Tkachuk makes a very terrible clearing attempt. We can agree on that.
How many times have we seen this?
Yeah.
We've talked about that repeatedly on this show, where players do not know how to clear the puck.
That was a
Stanley Cup moment.
That was a bad play by Tkachuk and a great play by Mark Stone. So let's talk about Mark Stone and his feet. This is key. This is all on my Twitter, guys, and Locked On is tagged if you want to go and see. Keyword, normal height of the player's shoulders. So normal height does not mean if you are lunging over, leaning down like this, 4, 5, 6 inches to make a play while you're stretching for the puck. So I did the same thing with Gil on Locked On NHL this morning. So here's his, pretend this is a blade digging into the ice right here. This is his blade. Here's his ankle, shin, so on and so forth. When he makes contact with the puck, this is how he is dug into the ice at about a 30-degree angle, something like that. When you dig in like that, your body tilts and you go down. If he is standing at his normal height, his shoulders are 4 inches higher off the ice. We're not even talking about this play if he's standing straight up. But since he is over and playing the puck at or even above his shoulders slightly, which we can agree on that, then yes, it is a debatable call. When you read the rules, if Mark Stone was standing straight up at his normal height, as the NHL defines a high stick, there is not even a discussion happening right now. It was at the goalpost, maybe even, pretty close to the goalpost. And Mark Stone is, 6 something? His shoulders go much higher than the goalpost.
So wait, so Toronto pulls out like their cutout of Mark Stone and goes, this is what his shoulders normally look like.
They look at his feet.
And then they tilt it a little bit.
All you do is you look at his feet. All you do is you look at his feet, Tony. Like there's all these angles out there that show this green line, and people from Florida are trying to find this camera. People from Vegas are trying to find this definitive shot. All you got to do is you look at his ankles and you stop right there. Look at his ankles. Look how his edges are like this on the ice. He is lowered 4 to 5 inches based on how deep he's digging in right there. Good goal. And Paul Maurice knew it. He was firing a shot. It was a Hail Mary.
He knew funny afterwards. Yeah.
He was great afterwards. I wish I was in that interview room afterwards. I would have gotten thrown out because I would have said something dumb.
We saw a couple of Florida cast-offs. Jonathan Marchessault,
yes,
the Breakfast Club line. That's the new name of that line, the Breakfast Club line. And Riley Smith with the empty netter. They both scored goals. So it is their revenge tour. So that was pretty cool.
Sure.
Back to Eichel, 20 points now, 2 assists in the game. For VGK, it was their ninth comeback win in the playoffs. 10 times in the playoffs, they have scored 4 or more points, goals, I should say, in a game. 10 times, 4 or more, which is pretty crazy because we go back, right? And one of my concerns coming into the playoffs, period, was can the Golden Knights continue to score? Remember Montreal in that series? Remember them against Dallas? Remember how they just went south and they couldn't score goals?
Pete DeBoer. To say the Pete DeBoer era.
Isn't that crazy, though, how they're scoring goals, and they're scoring them in bunches? And again, 10 times.
Depth.
3
Everyone's
goals
scoring.
or more in a period is unbelievable. Special teams, before we go to break, we're going a little bit lengthy here.
Let's go.
Special teams, the one power play goal for VGK. I can't remember a second one. And then they give up the shorthanded goal.
Was Mark Stone's? Was Stone's the power play? I'll look it up right now. Keep talking.
And so, in 5-on-5 now, guess what? VGK has outscored opponents 51-24. If that 3-1 holds up.
So real fast, just on the 5-on-5 take right there, was Riley Smith's considered a power play goal? Maybe
no, because they had 5 players out there. Remember, not the goaltender.
Yeah. So the only goal that
there's only
on the AHL network, the only goal they're crediting as a power play was Marchessault's.
Yes.
So
that was it.
Either the game sheet is wrong, or Riley Smith's was technically a power play goal. It's one of those two.
How could it have been?
Because that's when the scrum happened. That's when the scrum happened with Tkachuk at the end of the game.
But they still had 5 skaters because they.
It still triggers a power play in the stats though. It would still trigger a power play goal.
Okay.
So either way, really fast though about the 5-on-5, and then we can cut out. We can shorten the second segment, I guess. 5-on-5, right? Florida gets a shorthanded goal early. Credit them for being opportunistic and getting one in there. Shorthanded goal, not a 5-on-5 goal. Okay, fine. The other goal right off the face off, again, credit them for their work there, but it's kind of a weird fluky goal. My point is, at least after a small sample size of game one, if Florida cannot solve the Vegas Golden Knights 5-on-5, this will be a 4 or 5 game series. And they did not do very well 5-on-5 in this game. Now, let's credit Florida. They hit the post a bunch. They could not beat the post. They beat Aiden Hill. They couldn't beat the post. So if they do ring one of those posts goes a little bit differently, we could be talking about a different outcome, but also credit Bobrovsky for an immaculate game early on. Wheels came off a little bit. I'm not going to blame him for the Stone goal. Not going to blame him for the Theodore goal. But he made some remarkable saves in the game to keep Florida in it. And we'll talk more in segment 2.
Okay. Coming up next, we've got some keys and some key adjustments that need to be made in game number 2 for both teams. Stay with us right here on Locked On Golden Knights. For a championship team, it's all about making sure that every player is a perfect fit. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to really fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors with eBay Guaranteed Fit. You can make sure that every part you need fits right the first time around. All you need to do is to add your ride to My Garage and look for the green check mark to know that the part fits. And if it doesn't, you will receive your money back, because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game at no time at all. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. The right parts get the right fit and the right prices at ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights from Las Vegas. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick. We appreciate you making us your first listen each and every day. And on Fridays, we have our WTF segment, What the Friday? And that's always a ton of fun. And, right before we went to break, Chris, you alluded to this. Could have been a much different game. You talked about the post, right? They were
had a great game. Post played great.
They're like 3 or 4 times.
For both, I think Vegas had 2 and Florida had 3 or 4. Maybe Vegas had 1, and Vegas had at least 2 and Florida had at least 3, I believe, maybe 4.
Yeah. Okay. In any event, so it could have played out differently there.
Much differently.
If 1 or 2 of those goes into net on either side.
If one goes in.
Right. And then also early on in that first period, VGK, I think it was 6 or 7 times. They had really good looks, and they just missed the net entirely. So these are things, again, if VGK can hit the net, who knows? Or just put the puck in front. It could play out differently in game 2. If 1 or 2, again, of those pucks goes into the net rather than hitting the post, the one that was up in that, was it Barkov up in the corner on the left side? I mean, it was just, it was a tough break, I thought, for Florida there, because it hit right between the top part of the post.
Yeah, I know the puck. That was a dinger. We heard that all the way in the back of 217.
Wow. So in any event, so a lot of things, can change there. We did talk on Friday about winning faceoffs. Chandler Stevenson lost the faceoff on the Duclair goal. And then it was a set play, and the shot went off of White Cloud and right into the net. And that was a big goal there because it tied the game up very late in the second period at 2 goals apiece. And then, as we saw, VGK turned it on. But a lot of things can happen there differently, the way that things play out. But I don't know why Stevenson, and, I was talking about faceoffs too. At one time, I tweeted out, VGK had won 20, Chris, of 23 faceoffs at one point. And they only wound up winning the faceoff battle by like 3 or 4.
53 to 47% was the final number.
Okay.
Yeah.
So again,
a
lot of things can change. And, in this game, what do you think some of the keys will have to be for VGK? Again, keeping their composure has to be at the top of the list. And they need to play better defensively in game number 2.
So I want to start by kind of going back to Edmonton and Dallas for a second. After both of those first games, I felt that Vegas only had room to grow where we got a peak performance out of Dallas and Edmonton. I know the Dallas and Edmonton fans hated saying it, but well, I was right. In this situation, I don't feel we have the same thing happening here. I think Florida played a great 48 to 50 minutes of hockey. Vegas had a little puck luck down the stretch to get some, to find the back of the net. We'll give them credit for that. We'll give them credit for getting themselves in the spots to earn that puck luck as well. Whereas the Florida Panthers, they were on the wrong side of some posts. And then obviously their composure is completely lost. But back to my point here, I think we got, I won't say a peak performance out of VGK. They got a little room to go up. They were about, probably about 3/4, maybe, 80% of their peak, where Florida probably only gave us, if I'm going to rate them on a scale of 1 to 100, maybe a 60% game. Florida didn't have a great
But it
game
wasn't. But
overall.
It was not due to the rust at all. I think a lot of
maybe it was, but
maybe
it was the reverse rust though, Tony. Maybe it was they came out strong, which we didn't think they were going to do. I felt Vegas was going to own the first period and Florida would catch up throughout the game. I don't know if it was the rust in the third period or if it was just simply them becoming completely unhinged. It was one of the two, obviously, or maybe the layoff led to them becoming unhinged. I don't have a good answer for that, but what I can say is we're going to see a much better version of the Florida Panthers. And if Aiden Hill doesn't play an equal to or better game, and if the post is a little less friendly, Vegas is going to be chasing this game, probably a little quicker than they were chasing the game, obviously, on Saturday, where Florida scored the first goal. Yet again, Vegas gives up the first goal. So expect a much better Florida Panthers team. Expect a better Vegas team as well. I don't know if Vegas will be able to match the intensity, at least early on in the first period from Florida.
See, I am so concerned about Jack Eichel. I really am, because as that game was just wearing on, I mean, he was just getting battered. And whether he was hitting or taking a hit, I'm concerned about how he's going to feel, like how he's feeling going into this game physically. And if the series goes late and long, that's a player that they could take out. They could take out of the equation. He could wear down.
If that happens, so be it. That's what their job is.
So Matthew Tkachuk, we talked a little bit about him, but 21 goals in now 17 games, I believe. So for Tkachuk, there's a player who they relied on. He had just 2 shots on goal, and he was a -1 in the first game. And he had a ton of penalty minutes, of course, accumulated there.
2 minors and 10.
Yeah, at the end of the game. So 14 minutes of penalties. And he definitely has to be a better leader. But this is the same guy that every time I've seen him play the Golden Knights, especially here, he just loses his cool. He comes unglued. He comes unhinged. And that's the player that I remember, not the guy that's scoring game winners in a series against the Canes, or, helping his team beat the team with the best record of all time in Boston. How can he get his game straight? How can the Panthers be more disciplined?
So 2 things. Matt Tkachuk's final stat line: -1, 14 penalty minutes, 2 shots, 3 hits, 1 giveaway, 0 takeaways.
1 sucker punch.
Maybe probably more than 1, but maybe we'll only give him 1 for now, just in the interest of keeping this moving here. Jack Eichel's final stat line. Where did Jack Eichel go? Where did he go? There. He's on top, as he should be.
Mark Stone, by the way, had 7 shots on goal in that game.
I saw that. So Jack Eichel's final stat line: 2 assists, +1, no penalties, 2 shots, 3 hits, 1 block, 2 takeaways. So Jack Eichel certainly wins round one of that battle. And listen, you're not going to win games if Matt Tkachuk is walking down the tunnel with 5 minutes left. Let's start there. Matt Tkachuk is the best money player, dollar for dollar, in the playoffs as far as scoring big goals and doing big things. Wow, the show's going fast today, Tony. William Karlsson, let's give him some credit for maybe a quiet shutdown game. You stop it. Give William Karlsson some credit.
What did he do?
What did he do? I mean, he lost his stick and got himself in a bad situation, shorthanded, or on the power
play. Talk
play.
about breaking ankles. His ankles were broken, man.
Fine.
Okay, on that play.
But you keep Matt Tkachuk off the score sheet, that Cassidy is matching Karlsson. Karlsson's matching. Why? How's it not? How you not give him a little bit of credit? He gets a little bit of credit.
No. He played a horrible game. I think it's time. He played so poorly. I thought I was waiting for the tweets that said that he was the best player on the ice.
He was not
Coming
the best
up
player
next,
on the ice. Not the best player on the ice. I agree with you
well,
on that one.
coming up next, we've got our locks of the night and our predictions for Game 2. The Golden Knights and the Florida Panthers will be tangling again on Monday night. Back with more after this on Locked On Golden Knights. Welcome back to Locked On Golden Knights. Tony Cardasco and Chris Golick from Las Vegas. Chris is the agitator of the group, going after those poor Florida Panther fans on Twitter.
Oh, they deserve it.
Find us on Twitter. By
They
the
deserve
way,
it.
he is at TD Chris G. I am at Tony Dasco, but don't at me because I have enough traffic going on right now. And then you could find us as well at Locked
All on
On
your head. It's all on your
Golden
head.
Knights. Locked On Golden Knights, of course, on YouTube. Please subscribe there. Can the VGK juggernaut, as Matthew Tkachuk called it, could it continue to keep steamrolling opponents? That, I think, is the biggest question. Again, 4 goals 10 times. 9 times they've come back in the playoffs. 3 goals or more in a period. That's unbelievable. Yeah, so can the juggernaut, as Tkachuk calls it, and by the way, Matthew Tkachuk, that cross-check on Mark Stone, how are these guys going to be in Brady Tkachuk's wedding and get along? I mean, that was a night last night.
I could see a drunken fight
say
happening
on
that night
Saturday
between
night.
those two.
I could see it. Yeah. You put booze into the equation. I mean,
So good. So
well,
good.
I think that, it was a night on Saturday for Matthew Tkachuk where he might have even cross-checked Brady Tkachuk's future wife, anyone that was on the ice, if she were there. In any event, does the juggernaut continue?
So this is where I go back to when I used to run poker rooms for a living. I think about sometimes I've watched some interactions from like my direct supervisors with employees. And I'm like, whoa, listen, you got to slow down. You can't talk to a dealer like that. But then I stop and think about it. I'm like, the only reason they think this is acceptable practice is because they probably saw me do it. They probably saw me walk the line, and maybe something HR would or would not think too kindly of. I go down, I have my meeting, and I take my lick and I move on. That's my job to deal with that, not necessarily their job to put themselves in that spot, but they only put themselves in that spot if I am basically making it seem like it's okay to do so. This is where we're going to look at Paul Maurice. You look at his post-game presser. Everyone, let's effing relax right now. Okay, fine. We're relaxed. We're good. And then he makes the comment, well, they were just itching to put us back in the box. He says it with this creepy Jack Nicholson smile, and stuff like that while he's doing it. And, so you can only wonder when he's in the locker room if he's completely unhinged, basically yelling and swearing at these guys. He's got them like a bunch of rabid dogs ready to get on the ice and crush everything that moves. Where Bruce Cassidy, when, the sky is falling, so to speak, I think he's in there in a very calm demeanor, trying to coach. And certainly I'm sure he's had his teachable moments, if you will, where he's ripped him a new one. But generally speaking, we've seen, when have we ever seen Cassidy lose it on the podium? The answer is never. Never seen him agitated, never even seen him throw a water bottle or slam his hand down. I mean, we've seen even more out of DeBoring and Gallant. We've definitely seen out of Gallant a very feisty side. So end of the day here, can Paul Maurice keep his team calm and out of the box and poised? My answer is no. Bruce Cassidy can. So in order to slow the Vegas Golden Knights juggernaut down, they got to keep their own poise, because Vegas learned a lot from the Edmonton series about poise.
And I think another contributing factor would be to clog the neutral zone, which I thought
that's not their strong point. That's not their strong point.
I know.
They're an aggressive forechecking team.
I know. They're going to have to adapt in some manner. 76% of the teams that win Game 1 go on to win the Cup. And I wanted to talk about the fourth line real fast because they put on some good pressure early.
They did.
They had 3 quick shots on goal.
Yep. And
they did a really good job. But I wanted to talk about the minutes, because after that first period, Colasar wound up playing just 9:49 in the game. Carrier, 9 minutes, 35 seconds. And then Amadio, 8 minutes and 24 seconds. So they pretty much put up with Carlson and Smith and mixed and matched them. But the fourth line, for some reason, even though it was mucked up for quite a while, why didn't the fourth line play more often in a real physical game? That's my question.
I mean, listen, Vegas kept their poise. They won the game 5-2. I'm not going to question Cassidy too much on that. It's nice how we have been able to rely on 4 lines throughout the playoffs to keep our top
They've
9
been rolling 4 lines. That's my point here.
which
Right?
keeps our top 9 forwards healthy and
Okay.
fresh. So if you need to rock them a little bit more and double shift them a little bit to keep the pressure on Florida, which obviously Vegas did, then it's fine. Maybe game 2 they will go to the 4 lines. And this is about the first matchup is Aiden Hill versus Bobrovsky. Aiden Hill won round 1 going away. Bobrovsky played great. Aiden Hill played better. Argue if you want. Hit me on Twitter, folks.
Sure.
The second important battle, and probably the most important battle, is going to be Maurice versus Cassidy. Cassidy shortened the bench, and it paid off while keeping his team poised. Paul Maurice, he's going to blow a gasket. He's going to do it again. And so far, Cassidy has got the edge there. So, listen, really fast, guys. I know we're getting close to the end here. Give me the best goalie in this series. Give me the best coach. Let's call Bobrovsky and Hill right now even for how they've been in the playoffs. Again, Florida Panthers, you want to argue, hit me on Twitter. You're going to lose that battle based on the stats right now. Cassidy, greater than Paul Maurice in the playoffs and game 1. Argue with me on Twitter if you want. I'll win that battle too. Let's go.
Sean Burke gets a lot of the credit.
A ton.
And I think if we ever could see
unsung
the guy
hero,
talk to
unsung hero.
Yeah, if we ever could talk to him and ask him questions, that would be quite nice around here.
Really fast. Let me dig in one more really fast, and then I'll let you go, Tony. I know you got a second here. McCrimmon made the comment during media day on Friday. When I talk to the American media, I've told you guys this before. I elbowed someone unnamed next to me. I said, "When does he talk to the American media?" He doesn't. So
when I never talk to,
I'm done now. Go ahead.
But in any event, VGK has to shoot high. Like we said, that is what the analytics told us, and they did shoot high. You notice that?
That was referenced by Cassidy too.
Yeah, and Cassidy talked about it, and you heard about that right here. And then they replayed the Braden Holtby robbery of Alex Tuck back in the 2018 Stanley Cup final.
2 predictions really fast. We can do it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I am going to go with an overtime game and a victory by the Cats. 3-2. I think they come back. I'm going to go with Eichel, and I'm going to go with Alex Pietrangelo to score a goal. The defensemen are doing a good job of moving the puck, getting across and on the entry, just having not a lot of issues, and good puck possession time of the Golden Knights in the offensive end. Let's see what the Panthers will do to counter that. Chris?
Yeah, so Shea Theodore scores goals in bunches.
He didn't break anyone's ankles. The guy's ankle was already broken by the shot.
Fine. So be it. Then he took advantage of the situation. Good for him. But Shea Theodore is really good at scoring in bunches. So we're going to go Shea Theodore. And I want to see a Hager bomb. It's time for a Hager bomb. I think if Nick Hague gets on the board this game and scores a goal, the arena will absolutely go ballistic at any point. So give me a Hager bomb. Give me Theodore, more defensemen scoring goals. Give me 4-2 Vegas. I know I don't like the analytics of that, but I don't care. I'm going 4-2 Vegas. If I'm wrong, so be it. But I feel like Vegas has the momentum, and they've shifted that already after game 1.
Earlier on Sunday, I was on a gambling show on the BetQL network, and they said the total was 6. It's come back down to 5.5. We'll have to see how that plays out. VGK about a -140 to -145 favorite in game number 2. For my man, Chris Golick, I'm Tony Cardasco. We appreciate you all tuning in, especially our everydayers, and we'll see you again tomorrow, and we'll be talking about game 2 of the Stanley Cup final right here on Locked On Golden Knights.